There are two dangerous myths about public education that are frequently cited as rationales for cuts. Myth number 2, the decline in student enrollment means we don't need as many teachers. This conclusion is false for two key reasons: the situation in our schools in the early 2000s, and the obvious and overwhelming increase in the collective needs of our students. It is true that student enrollment has dropped significantly since the year 2000. Unfortunately, a comparison only works if New Brunswick's public education system was well funded and resourced at that time, when clearly the opposite was true. Although honorable in theory, the lack of supports placed us amongst the lowest jurisdictions in the country. The system tasked with providing the most was being given the least, and it showed. Stresses on the system were so evident that it prompted the McKay Report in 2005. 9 months of study with input from stakeholders across the system and province. The results surprised no one familiar with the realities of our schools. More financial and human resources were needed, and the status quo was not an option. The other problem with the myth about requiring fewer teachers is the obvious and overwhelming increase in the needs of students. This clear disconnect prompted yet another government report, Porter O'Coin in 2012. As predicted, it identified that more, not less, support was needed to fulfill our commitments to student learning. In summary, all of the government's own research conducted within New Brunswick classrooms and schools give undeniable proof of shortfalls in resources to support student learning. Our classes are increasingly complex. For example, there are teachers with over 50% of their students on personal learning plans. The response to these realities since 2010 has been K-12 funding, which falls far short of the inflation rate, and a reduction of 570 teachers. It is difficult to see how the government will accomplish their promises to make education a priority, raise literacy rates, make New Brunswick the best place in Canada to raise a family, and to create jobs by implementing a massive layoff of teachers. In 2005, Dr. Wayne McKay warned of the pitfalls of regarding education as a cost rather than a long-term investment. A decade later, this dangerous view seems to be the sole driving force behind decisions in public education. Where will our doctors, lawyers, accountants, mechanics, truck drivers, and resource workers come from if they are not offered a quality education? And how will New Brunswick compete internationally if our workforce doesn't receive the skills and training they need? We hope New Brunswickers can find the time to read some of the actual research conducted within our schools, or at least ask their MLAs, the people who are charged with making informed decisions, if they have. It isn't too late for us to choose the future. We can decide what type of schools these students are heading to, ones where students and their learning are valued and supported, where providing opportunities for individual children to reach their full potential is a societal priority, or where students are just numbers on a balance sheet. We hope that New Brunswickers join teachers in standing up for public education through their participation in public events and in their contacts with their elected representatives.